We are told from the very beginning of the movie that what Bruce Wayne is doing is his father's legacy. Being the Batman is how he honors Thomas Wayne. We can tell by how much time he spends in the suit while neglecting his duties as Bruce Wayne that he views his Caped Crusade as nothing short of sacrosanct. The way he journals what he does and forces himself to rewatch everything he does, take notes, analyze, it's all done with obsessive meticulousness. His entire reason for being, his existence, is entirely subsumed by the identity of the Batman, and he's very good at it. When Riddler comes along, it's unlike anything he's ever encountered. However, he treats him like he would any other criminal, with a detached seriousness.
I've been trying to reach you. You're part of this too.
How am I part of this?
You'll see.
Batman doesn't really take that threat seriously. His words mean nothing to him, at least not at a personal level, not yet at least, but the seed of doubt has been planted, and Riddler's riddles are the water that'll make it bloom. The genius of Riddler's riddles stem from the fact that they paint a picture of internal corruption in the justice system the Batman is meant to aid and uphold, and the sheer magnitude of it makes his faith in it waver just a tiny bit despite continuing to stick to his morals and relying on Jim Gordon, the one pillar of true justice amongst a sea of vermin. Although unintentional by Riddler himself, this primes Bruce for the inevitable collapse of his identity once it's revealed that the second to last riddle involves the Waynes. The revelation that Martha was admitted to Arkham, the fact that this would hurt Thomas Wayne politically, his subsequent decision to commission crime boss Carmine Falcone to keep everything under wraps. The seed finally blooms as the image of Bruce's father shatters, and by extension, his identity as the Batman.
What are you hiding? Are you just hideously scarred?
Yeah.
And it seems as though Selina truly sees him, but are those scars from his past, or are those currently forming fresh scars? And you can see through his eyes the restraint to just tell her, to let her know how he got those scars. But he can't. He knows why he can't, and we do too, so he doesn't. You can see the reluctance in his body language and movements when he goes through the archives pertaining to the renewal fund. He knows that what he'll find there will hurt him even more, and it does. Deeply. A quick aside, but I find it profoundly ironic in the best possible way that for a crime boss lower on the food chain, for now, Bruce showing up as the Batman found more resistance than when he went there as Bruce Wayne demanding to see the man on top. At his highest, he had to fight to see the Penguin, and at his lowest, he's allowed entry to see Falcone like a duke. That's really good. When visiting Alfred, his first words are an accusation.
You lied to me. My whole life.
All those years fighting for what you realize is a false idol would be more than enough to break someone, and you can see that in every shudder, in every twitch of his eyelids, the shakiness of his breath, the quiet rage bubbling up inside. But he doesn't raise his voice. It would be easy to just yell, to scream and cry, but on top of the fact that Alfred is still severely injured, this wouldn't be the kind of conversation he would want to have in a place like a hospital. So it's not just emotional regulation due to discipline, it's tactical restraint. Even now, his guard is still up. Even now, he's still the Batman, albeit broken.
And that was a key part of this arc, was that somehow this childlike image of perfection, which no one can live up to, is shattered in this moment, and he is, as Falcone says, truly not a kid anymore, and it's about time.
It makes sense for Bruce to believe his father was just as rotten as the rats he put in prison given the information he was given, because the Riddler was only showing him what he knew at the surface. Falcone said the reporter was on Maroni's payroll, and whether that was true or not is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, Carmine killed him, and that was something Carmine could use to manipulate Thomas into doing anything he wanted, creating yet another corrupt politician, completely undoing Thomas Wayne's efforts to make Gotham a better place. But Thomas, being the integrous man that he was on his way to correct his mistake, to right the wrong of trusting the wrong man, and that night he was killed, along with the love of his life that he was trying to protect. And not knowing whether it was Maroni, Falcone himself, or a Joe Chill had haunted Alfred for years, he was supposed to protect Thomas and Martha Wayne, and he had failed. But it doubly makes sense that Alfred would understand Thomas's thought process. Who else was he going to trust? Bruce was too young to understand, Martha was unstable, they haven't met Lucius Fox yet, and anyone else that knew would have ruined the Wayne family legacy forever. The world building was set up perfectly for this kind of conflict. And we can see Bruce starts to shake less and less the more Alfred talks, and he comes to the realization that his father was exactly who he thought he was, and more. a good man but weak of will whenever desperate. His Achilles heel was being too trusting, and in Batman's mythos, one of his core character traits is that he doesn't trust people easily. And given that this is a Year One inspired story, having that lesson instilled early in his career in a way that is intrinsic to his identity and his father's legacy is honestly pretty damn genius.
I wasn't equipped to take care of you. You needed a father. And all you had was me.
The relationship that you have here between him and Alfred was going to be different in that Alfred was never really suited to be a father. He was there to protect his former MI6. He was there to protect the Waynes. He was close to Thomas Wayne. And he was the one who became Bruce's guardian, but he wasn't emotionally equipped to be a father. He wasn't anywhere near being a father. And so all he could really do was teach Bruce how to fight, and in a way probably helped him to avoid his emotions. And now he's starting to see, 2 years into this project, that this might be dangerous to Bruce, and it's heartbreaking to him. And this glimpse here, you know, this idea of the contact lenses being one more sort of way that he takes everything in his journaling and then has to force himself to remember. When he sees the way that child looks at the way the mayor's son looks at Bruce, he realizes he sees the look of Bruce as a child all over again, and he feels this tremendous guilt. In my mind, he became Batman because he couldn't bear to be vulnerable anymore. He couldn't bear the idea of ever going through that kind of pain again. It's the same reason why he won't let anyone get close to him, including Alfred, who really has been, as best as he could, been like his imperfect father and has loved him, but only been able to show it in the ways that he can. But he's sort of desperately fumbling the way that, you know, that everyone does, that all fathers do. But he did, as he was never prepared to be a father. He suddenly had to care for this 10-year-old kid. And in this idea that somehow he could reverse what happened to him by living out this idea of taking vengeance on the criminal element, that every criminal he fights is in some way a reflection of the people who must have killed his parents. This idea that's very naive in a way, that he hasn't yet found the way to take that and move beyond it so that it's not purely personal. It's purely personal. And this idea is all about not really knowing any other way to cope. And this is the moment where he realizes even, I think, why he's kept Alfred at such arm's length. And why, honestly, you know, in the end of the movie, when he kind of loses it after he sees Selina being attacked, you realize how he's driven by that. It shows the depth of his feeling for her, that he loses it to that degree because it's unbearable for him. And he's never really going to be able to cope with that, which is why he's perfectly suited to being Batman, which is that he can't let people get that close to him, and he's driven to continue to do this. And so in that sense, his scars make him the perfect person to give over his life to this mission. And it starts as a personal mission, but he has to come to understand by the end of the story that it has to be more than that, that it can't just be a mission of vengeance for himself, that he has to represent more for the city. And this is the beginning of that right here, as he realizes that feeling is really the thing that scared him the most. He thought he'd mastered himself.
With his faith in his mission reignited, he reinforces his belief not only to himself, but with Selina, who finds the dirty cop that works for Falcone and vows to kill him for murdering her best friend. Selina almost succeeds, but Batman arrives just in time to save not Falcone, but her. And so, he brings the Rata Alada into the light as per Riddler's riddle. And Riddler shoots him, which leads Batman to follow him up to his apartment where all his secrets are revealed. Everything he knows, and the implications of that shake Batman. You can see the exact moment he realizes Riddler could know his secret identity.
Maybe this is all coming to an end.
What is?
The Batman.
At this point, Bruce is ready to accept that he might be outed as the Batman, and his career, his life, his relationship with Selina, all of it could end that very night. You can see the resignation, the way he lowers his eyes and his head, the quiet, silent admission that he could lose everything.
You're a good cop.
Those words are spoken like they're his last words.
Bruce. Wayne.
And those words are spoken like a taunting accusation, at least from Bruce's perspective. And the way he looks down, hides in darkness, almost to hide himself from the Riddler, to protect himself from the accusation, shows that he is still absolutely terrified. And we can see a shot of the security camera recording everything, implying that anything Riddler says beyond this point will be recorded and made public if it contains information that could change everything forever. But he also makes a calculated move to restrain himself, to not immediately assume anything. Riddler is trying to pivot the conversation, but Batman only hears the accusation. Riddler has absolutely no idea what his words are doing to Batman inside. Riddler continues talking about how being a rich boy in an inherited mansion isn't being an orphan, and how the rich are paid more attention to than the poor because to society, the poor don't matter. To Riddler, orphanhood is tied to class. And in Batman's eyes and how he shifts them, you can see a hint of guilt at that, which could be the ultimate payoff set up by the film. Alfred calling Bruce out for neglecting his duties in favor of being the Batman, and Bella Real calling Bruce out for being completely absent, unlike his father Thomas. Maybe he should aid people like Bella Real. Maybe his father's legacy isn't just the Batman, it's also renewal. A true renewal. This is hammered home with the inclusion of the next thing Riddler says.
Your mask is amazing. I wish you could have seen me in mine. Isn't it funny?
All everyone wants to do is unmask you, but they're missing the point. You and I both know. I'm looking at the real you right now.
Riddler absolutely loves Batman. He is his inspiration, and that scares Batman because it hammers home the point that his caped crusade of vengeance does more harm than good when not pursued with the right frame of mind, when there's no balance. The fact that Batman has been doing exactly what Riddler wanted all along repulses him. The fact that they seem so similar in methods and motives, their meticulousness, the goals, the masks. And so, Batman lashes out and breaks his fantasy like a knee-jerk reaction, the way an animal caught in a trap gnaws its own leg to crawl out. It's not cruelty for its own sake, but it's cruelty as a defense mechanism. But when Batman realizes the full extent of Riddler's plan, which I'm gonna be honest, the fact that no one thought to ask Martinez previously what the Tucker even was might be the dumbest part of the movie. It's easily the second most contrived part of the entire movie, right up with Riddler's plan. He finally understands the true scope of it. Just when he thought it was over, things blow up in his face. When he tries to stop Bella Real's assassination and saves Catwoman from a Riddler goon, he gets hit with the ultimate bombshell.
Who the hell are you? I'm vengeance.
And that's when the lesson finally hits. For as long as he stays as a wrathful force of nature out there to deliver vengeance and vengeance exclusively, nothing in this city will ever change. So instead of just delivering vengeance, he offers something even more worthwhile. Hope. He decides to be the light in the dark cavernous depths of Gotham. This is where Batman goes from being a mere vigilante to a hero. Even the National Guard respects his efforts. Now people no longer beware the Batman. They look up to him. They respect and admire him. Now only those that have reason to be are the ones afraid of him. His legacy wasn't just his father. It wasn't just to avenge those that suffer like him. It wasn't just to avenge Thomas or Martha Wayne. It was to honor their wishes to help this city become better. And he will sacrifice whatever it takes to get there, even his own happiness. He will give it his all to protect the people of Gotham. To be the symbol Gotham needs. He will be its Dark Knight. Superman has been public for the past 3 years, and although still in the infancy of his career, he tries his absolute best to be the best version of himself he can be. To be as human as he could possibly be, in every positive sense of the word. When he crash landed onto Earth, Lara and Jor-El had left him a message.
We love you more than heaven, our son. We love you more than land. Our beloved home will soon be gone forever. But hope vitalizes our hearts, and that hope is you, Kal-El. We have searched the universe for a home where you can do the most good and live out Krypton's truth. That place is Earth.
And apparently the rest of the message was corrupted and undecipherable, but later Clark tells Lois in a mock interview of Superman that those words are the reason he does what he does. He's here on Earth to honor his parents' legacy, Krypton's truth, hope, justice, and doing good. Good. What is that? Well, it's saving lives, being kind and compassionate, and coming close to committing a war crime. But hey, saving lives is important, right? Even though your involvement could, in the long run, kill more people because it can escalate whatever arms race there is to keep up with metahumans because they've existed for 3 centuries. But we can ignore that, right? At the end of the day, all Superman cares about is doing good. He insists that he did what he did in Jarhanpur because people were going to die, and he's very emphatic about it, which speaks to a fundamental belief that all life is precious. And in the kaiju attack, he shows concern that the Justice Gang is killing it in a rough and brutal fashion and shows disappointment when it gets killed.
I was hoping we could capture it and take it to an intergalactic zoo, or at least euthanize it less painfully.
Such concern, even for a foe, speaks to a fundamental belief that all life is precious. And he does his absolute best to avoid as much collateral damage that could potentially hurt or even kill someone, even slowing down his flight by just a tiny smidge, which, whether a VFX error or not, could be interpreted as him making sure to avoid whiplash, which speaks to a fundamental belief that all life is precious. However, Lex Luthor and the Engineer believe that Superman is a threat to humanity, and so he breaks into the Fortress of Solitude thanks to their Superman clone, Ultraman, and the Engineer translates the Kryptonian language and uncorrupts the rest of the message in a matter of minutes. Something alien robots were not able to do in over 3 decades, which would imply that Lex Luthor has technology that stands on equal footing with, rivals, or even potentially surpasses alien technology. Believe me, we will get into that. So, while Superman and the Justice Gang...
Not our name, it's just a working name.
Right. So, while Superman and the Super Friends defeat the kaiju and celebrate their victory, Lex shows up on Not Jimmy Kimmel and exposes Superman for the fraud he is. He is not here to save us, he is here to enslave us.
The people there are simple and profoundly confused.
Well, you're not wrong.
Weak of mind and spirit and body. Lord over the planet as the last son of Krypton.
Dispatch of anyone unable or unwilling to serve you, Kal-El. Take as many wives as you can, so your genes and Krypton's might and legacy will live on in this new frontier.
Do us proud, our beloved son. Rule without mercy.
You might be wondering why I've been playing clips from Invincible while this message was playing. Well, that's because this is almost exactly what it is. In under 5 minutes, we get 3 different sources that confirm the validity of the message, ranking from least to most credible. Lex, the UN, and Mr. Yondu, Terrific. And James Gunn himself had to come out and tell people that yes, this message is indeed real, it's not fake. And so, feeling distraught and shaken as his core identity, the very reason he's Superman to begin with, has turned out to be a lie, he decides to turn himself in. His parents' legacy was not what he thought it was. It was corrupt from the start, and this clashes with the values he spent years cultivating, nurtured by Ma and Pa Kent, whom we don't actually get to know all that well, which is weird considering how paramount they are to how Clark turns out. After the whole debacle at the Pocket Universe, we will get to that! Superman gets rescued by Lois and Mr. Terrific and taken to the Kent farm. After he's all healed, he breaks down in front of John, telling him what he came to discover about his Kryptonian parents. That something that was so foundational to his identity as Superman, as a symbol of hope, was founded on nothing but wishful thinking.
What you wanted that message to mean says a whole lot more about you than what anyone meant for it to mean.
Oh, you don't understand. I'm not who I thought I was. They sent me here to hurt people.
Your choices, Clark. Your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
And so, with his faith restored and reinvigorated, he flies out to Metropolis to stop the rift and encounters Ultraman, and it's then when we finally learn why Lex hates him so much. Lex hates Superman because it makes humanity look weak by comparison. He sees that there are alien species out there that can overpower him, and that makes him look weak. It makes humanity look weak. Lex did not spend years mastering his craft, mastering technology, just to be eclipsed by an alien that, for all he knows, has had his powers from birth, never having to struggle a day in his life. He will not accept that. Man is God, not this
Piece of shit! Alien!
So he needs to kill him by any means necessary. He has to destroy him, annihilate him, and he'll take every chance he'll get to kill him and contrive any plot to achieve that goal. When the Raptors arrive, he does this awesome epic spin attack and destroys Metropolis. And the VFX is very deceptive too. They know that in the space between the raptors, the lasers would be slicing through the buildings, but they keep it within proximity of the raptors, specifically so that they don't hit the buildings, so that you can say that it doesn't actually hit the buildings, when that's not how the laser vision works. After he gets the upper hand, Ultraman attacks him, even though he wouldn't be receiving commands anymore because the drones are destroyed, and pins Superman down. He's immobilized and needs to break free quickly, or else the world will be destroyed. How will he break free, you might be asking? Simple. He kills him. Right after all control from Lex has been severed. He might be brainless, but he's free. Free to live and learn, to laugh, to love, and Superman launches him towards a bus careening into a black hole. He's dead. Superman killed him. After that's done, he flies up to Luthor Corps and confronts Lex himself.
Piece of shit alien! That is where you've always been wrong about me, Lex. I'm as human as anyone. I love, I get scared. I wake up every morning and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other and I try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time. But that is being human. And that's my greatest strength. And someday, I hope, for the sake of the world, you understand that it's yours too.
Okay, that was a speech. So, the rift is undone, the war for Jarhampur ends, the prisoners of the Pocket Universe are freed, Lex is disgraced and imprisoned, and Lois and Superman make out. And Supergirl arrives to take Krypto back with her.
What?
Supergirl arrives. Supergirl arrives. Okay. First things first, within the first 15 minutes of the movie, Lex Luthor has a T-9000, a remote-controlled Superman clone that defeated him at the peak of his power that he has to use voice commands to control, which are significantly slower than button command input, that are slower than Superman's super speed. And later it is revealed that he has a man that can turn into kryptonite at will, imprisoned in a pocket universe with no sun. I need you to understand what it means for Lex Luthor to have a pocket universe, or anyone else for that matter. He recreated the Big Bang. He isn't playing God. He is. He has every single thing he could possibly need to kill Superman 10 times over, and he contrives a plan with the president of Baravia to establish Luthoria, a technocracy meant to replace what is left from Jarhampur. The man that can create pocket universes wants a little bit of land. Universe means everything, because there is literally everything in the universe. If you create a pocket universe, you create a pocket everything, and he wants a little bit of land. But you see, this is all a front because he really wants to kill Superman, which is something he chooses to not do over the course of however long he's had these at his disposal. But at the very beginning, he needed government approval, so what could he possibly use to make Superman out to be the bad guy so that he would have an excuse to kill him? Wait, that's right! The Kryptonian message! He could corrupt it and oh wait, it's real. It's actually real. They're doing the meme where the guy celebrates the fact that the other guy he's hated his whole life turned out to be a bad person. But why would anyone ever think that it's fake? Hell, even Gurkos thought it was fake. It sounds fake. So fake, in fact, that the movie needed the government and Mr. Yondific himself to tell the audience that it was indeed real. Could it be that the first half and second half sound completely disparate and not at all part of a single cohesive message? Could it be that the second half sounds so outlandishly absurd that there's no possible way any sane person could believe it's real? I mean, a harem? Really? And let's suppose for a minute that this is indeed real, that Superman is indeed here to take over the planet. Given his reputation and how much people love him, monkeys on typewriters aside, who cares? Who wouldn't want Superman to lord over them? Not that there wouldn't be any dissenters, there absolutely would be. But do you have any idea how many women and even men would want to form part of his harem given what they know about him currently? It's gross and it's outlandish, but so is this. But no, everyone immediately turns on him as if he didn't just save a dog, a squirrel, a woman, a stupid idiot girl not noticing a literal kaiju behind her, and several buildings. But beyond that, the message itself is a distortion of traditional Superman lore, which, believe it or not, is not really that bad when executed properly. This is why something like Invincible works, because it makes sure that things make sense. This, I'm sorry, but no, it doesn't. It is true that Lex cannot kill Superman immediately because he needs to be brought in for questioning. Except, with all the power that he already has at his disposal, why not contrive a plan to kill Superman and claim it was self-defense using Ultraman as the fall guy? Lex could claim it was self-defense because Superman attacked them after escaping. They already have him pretend to be the Hammer of Baravia, and apparently they can make him talk. What information could Lex, and by extension the government, possibly want from Superman that they can't already figure out? With the amount of technology Lex Luthor has, as well as the borderline infinite resources he has access to, he can easily discover that Superman is Clark Kent. Hell, the next thing he says after killing Molly is,
"I'll be back later with someone else you've chatted with and I'll kill them too. Maybe that reporter you always do interviews with. Maybe I'll kill Clark Kent next."
If absolutely nothing else happened beyond that point, Lex could have discovered his identity and then trace him back to Pa and Ma Kent. All the information he could possibly need, from the Fortress of Solitude to the Kents, from the Justice Gang to Lois Lane, Lex has all the tools he could possibly need to win, and he just doesn't. This is without even mentioning Supergirl. If he can easily dispose of Superman and Krypto, Supergirl should be about the same. And then we have the actual crisis of identity, the collapse of Superman's identity as a hero, as a symbol of hope for humanity, his desire to do good, his aspirations to help humanity reach a better tomorrow, where all can live in peace, where he can give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards, where he can do the most good. Superman's arc is a circle. He starts out as a good guy because from his perspective, his parents told him he should be that way. And the implication would be that Ma and Pa Kent helped shape that into something more concrete. And then when his space parents are revealed to be the way they are, his foundation seemingly collapses, only for him to realize that his inherent goodness as a person was his foundation the whole time. So he just needs to keep being a good person. Awesome. Thing is, however, Ma and Pa Kent are barely seen. We barely get to know them or how much they impacted Clark's life. Our meta understanding of them in the mythos fills in all the blanks. It relies on your prior understanding of how they are supposed to be in order for you to fill in the gaps left by the movie, when it's the movie's job to not have those gaps to begin with. It's cheating by borrowing someone else's work. Nothing about Superman changes in a meaningful way. He's back to where he started. He gets a pep talk that reaffirms what he already believed. At least with Captain America in The Winter Soldier, he learns that the world as he knew it is forever different, that he has to learn to adapt to the current society we live in, that he can't trust so blindly, and that sticking to his values is the only thing he can say is the right thing to do, because in this world no one else knows what the right thing is anymore. And his thesis statement is proven right thanks to Bucky saving him and later being redeemed. With the Batman, the thesis statement being made is that enacting vengeance and nothing else is the only way Bruce can have an effect on the city, a thesis statement that is proven wrong because of the existence of people like the Riddler and the fact that his father acted from a place of love and duty, not vengeful wrath, that such actions are the real legacy he should follow. Both make thesis statements and both are challenged because of it, but one is proven right and the other is proven wrong, and both learn from the challenges that they had to face and overcome. Even though one was right and the other was wrong, they still both learned the important nuances of their actions, and they wrestle with the ramifications of what they do. What is Superman's thesis statement? Be good. What is that? Oh, just be a good person. Well, what does that mean? Is saving squirrels about to die, dogs and people good? Sure. Is acting unilaterally and choosing a side in the middle of a war good? Is crossing international borders illegally and threatening a sovereign elect during wartime, aka a literal war crime, good? I mean, Gurkhos is evil, right? But who's gonna take the fall for Superman? The US government? Will they, because of Superman's actions, have to go to war with Baravia? Is that good? Think of the soldiers that have to die in the middle of a war because of Superman's actions. Is that good? Well, how about employing the help of a US-based tech company-owned League of Metahumans to illegally cross sovereign borders, not only to intervene during wartime, but to act unilaterally and pick a side during the war, wiping out troops and executing a sovereign elect during wartime, aka a literal war crime. Is that good? And this is why the Batman succeeds at this while Superman fails. If you take out Bruce's parents out from the equation, Batman's identity becomes superficial and non-existent. With Superman, his identity is superficial even with two sets of parents because of how little impact they have on what he believes fundamentally. One, because they are apparently conquerors, and so the whole of the message has been discarded and the lesson learned was completely antithetical to their motives. And the other set are such non-factors in his life that they could have had anyone deliver those words to him and it would have had the same impact. The conversation with Alfred works because Bruce's naive image of Thomas was shattered but reconstructed in a way that stripped his memory of any infantile idealism. It was never about retroactively smearing Thomas. It was about Bruce learning that even though he had flaws, he was at heart a good man. Bruce's memory of Thomas Wayne was completely one-sided, ignoring the important nuances that come from truly understanding who your father was as a person, because he died before Bruce could truly get to know him. When you grow up, you get to see your father stumble and fail, and eventually you get to see him at his lowest point. And that opportunity was taken from Bruce, so he only ever sees Thomas as a saint. And the city of Gotham depicts him as some sort of political martyr, which reinforces Bruce's beliefs. But Alfred knew him, and he knows he wasn't perfect, but what he did out of love and duty. And that makes the picture for Bruce much wider and clearer, and it enables his change in approach to his heroics. He is not the same man by the end of the movie. Superman, on the other hand, has to tell us exactly who he is and strips his arc of any nuance. There is an idea that Superman had an idealistic view of his parents, but the message itself was constructed in such a cartoonishly evil way that it completely removes any potential for reinterpretation in a way that can reinforce Clark's values. It forces him into an existential crisis that is completely undone by learning the exact same lesson he had already known since the very beginning. It's a circle. We're back to where we started. It would have benefited the story if the message was fake and then left the second half a mystery, much like how Matt Reeves intends for the killer of Thomas and Martha Wayne to remain a mystery. Because then Superman could realize the fact that he's actually grateful for the first half of the message anyways, because it made him into the man he is today. And that part of the message was enough to make him a friend of humanity, something his Earth parents wanted him to be. But for that to be true, they have to be more involved. And don't think I've forgotten about this alien shoddy, because she is a humongous problem here as well. Assuming that her origin is the same as in DC canon, meaning that she was supposed to get to Earth first, but Clark got there first and grew up, with the knowledge that Krypton is ruled by ideological Viltrumites, how in the hell has Clark not figured out the truth about his parents earlier? And suppose Kara doesn't know. Why? Oh, the Supergirl movie will explain it. Maybe she hid it from Clark. Why? Oh, the Supergirl movie will explain it. And if she's on board with the whole taking over the Earth thing, which doesn't really seem to be that way, why hasn't she started from the moment she arrived? Oh, the Supergirl movie will explain it. It creates so many needless complications, and it makes the theme of nature versus nurture even worse, because now you have an agent that apparently Superman has known for a while, which is made significantly worse by the fact that James Gunn retconned the ending of Peacemaker Season 1 to have Supergirl be a part of the Justice Gang, which would mean that she has been an active member for about 1 to 2/3 of Superman's entire career. It renders Clark's conflict about his purpose and his parents completely meaningless. The movie would be better off removing Supergirl altogether. I've seen people compare the Batman with Superman, world's finest. They want to see these two cross paths in the DCU. And I was on board at first because I do like this movie. But the feelings of But the feelings of hope and optimism it instills are completely vague and artificial, which honestly makes me pretty sad. Because when the first trailer came out, it was during the beginning of the lowest point of my life so far, and I was expecting it to be good because it was something I was genuinely looking forward to. But analyzing this movie has only made me sadder and sadder that this movie is as bad as it is at what it sets out to do. It has the feel-good vibes of a Hallmark Christmas movie, but it also has made me reassess the Batman and look at it more critically, and it has made me appreciate just how well structured the writing is, how thorough the world building is, and how clear and concise the themes are. Most of what happens in this movie simply makes sense, and I've seen people compare the Sins of the Father theme in both movies, but frankly, if you watch both movies, I think you'll realize which one did it better. And this is why a lot of people still prefer the Batman. As sad as it is that recapturing the spirit of the first Christopher Reeves film seems to be a Sisyphean endeavor, we can take solace in the fact that we can always have good Batman stories, because they're not going anywhere. I was gonna include a segment for the Penguin, but honestly, I'd rather not spoil anything. It recently won 8 Emmys and I'd rather you watch it because that show is a masterclass in writing villains. But yeah, at first the world's finest propaganda was working on me until I looked at the Superman movie with a more critical eye, and now I don't think it'll ever be possible for it to work. The world building was completely obliterated before it really got a chance to shine, and it's sad really. I had an entire segment dedicated to the fans' reception to this movie written down, but as you can probably tell, I am losing my voice, so I'm just gonna skip to the end. I will go deeper into why this movie is bad in the future, as I have a debate planned with some friends of mine over at Gojin the Makai Phantoms channel, so stay tuned for that when it comes out. Lastly, if you want to support me on Patreon and buy me a coffee, that'd be great. And if we get to 500 subscribers, the Black Screen Podcast will return. Also, you can find me on the Zimcast podcast and Sea Monster Essays live streams occasionally, so if you want to hear me ramble about giant lizards, that'd be awesome. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go finish a video on